Warm greetings. Today is Thursday, August 13, 2026. This is meteorologist Ruben Garcia. At the time of recording this video, it is 5:30 in the afternoon, local time, in the Eastern Caribbean, where we continue to closely monitor the evolution of Invest 92 and Invest 94. In addition, look at how impressive the next tropical wave emerging from Africa looks, which apparently will eventually also have a chance of tropical development as it moves across the tropical Atlantic. So in reality, the train of tropical waves coming from Africa is very active, and we are fortunate that atmospheric conditions in the area are not entirely optimal for them to organize quickly thanks to effects related to the El Niño phenomenon. In fact, today we have seen that neither Invest 92 nor 94 has been able to achieve significant organization, particularly because they are not developing areas of convection near the center of circulation, and this has limited their tropical development. The National Hurricane Center at 2 in the afternoon decreased the chances of development of Invest 92 within 48 hours from 80 to 60%, and that is because conditions are forecast to become very unfavorable for it to achieve any type of tropical organization or strengthen in about 36 hours. So this means that as the hours go by, the window for development of Invest 92 is becoming smaller and smaller. So if it does not manage to strengthen into a tropical depression during the next 24 hours, it probably never will and will reach the Caribbean as a tropical wave. On the other hand, the National Hurricane Center maintains a 50% chance of development for Invest 94, which should also undergo some type of slow organization during the next 5 days, but it appears that conditions will be a little more favorable for tropical organization compared to what Invest 92 will encounter as it approaches the Caribbean. Let's look at the latest projections from the specialized models. Let's begin with the track projections for Invest 92. In general, they maintain a westward movement because the system should remain fairly weak, and it is forecast to cross over the Lesser Antilles during the morning hours on Saturday. And as I mentioned this morning, residents of Central America should not be concerned when they see these tracks, because it is expected that it will not survive its journey through the area to the south of Puerto Rico and the Dominican Republic, thanks to strong wind shear that will impact the system. And over the last 24 to 48 hours, we have seen a trend in which the specialized intensity models increasingly have a weaker system. Today they project that, in the worst-case scenario, it would reach the Lesser Antilles as a tropical depression or weak tropical storm. But notice that many of the models no longer even manage to strengthen the disturbance into a tropical cyclone. Regardless of whether it reaches the Caribbean as a tropical wave, tropical depression, or tropical storm, some significant showers are expected for portions of the Lesser Antilles with between 50 and 75 millimeters of accumulated rainfall. However, with the adjustments toward a more southerly track, the northern islands of the Lesser Antilles, Puerto Rico, and the Dominican Republic now have a projection of less rainfall than previously expected, which is definitely not good news for the region because the expected rainfall will not be enough to alleviate the drought. In fact, this is the projection from the American model, and it also agrees with the projection from the European model, with little rainfall in the northern Lesser Antilles, Puerto Rico, and the Dominican Republic. However, it is good news for the islands in the central and southern Lesser Antilles, since the European model has rainfall accumulations that could reach 75 or 100 millimeters between Friday and Saturday. In addition, remember that marine conditions, especially in the Caribbean Sea, will be dangerous during the weekend, as the models project some wind gusts between 35 and 40 miles per hour affecting portions of the northern half of the Lesser Antilles, and some areas of Puerto Rico could experience wind gusts between 30 and 35 miles per hour. Now, let's talk a little about Invest 94, which appears to have better chances of developing into a tropical cyclone. According to the latest track projections, there is good consensus that it will move westward during the next 48 hours and then turn toward the west-northwest until moving just northeast of the Caribbean. But remember that these projections are subject to change. So for now, in the northeastern Caribbean, we must continue to closely monitor its evolution. As I have mentioned in recent videos, it is still too early to talk about how far or how close it will pass to the region and what its effects could be. What we have seen is that the specialized intensity models do show gradual strengthening during the next 4 to 5 days and generally agree that it could eventually strengthen into a moderate tropical storm when it is located just east of the Caribbean. So it remains to be seen whether Invest 94 will finally be the one to receive the name Tropical Storm Dolly, and everything will depend on whether or not Invest 92 manages to become a tropical storm. Now, let's look at the projections from the global models. Here we have the projection from the European model. Notice that during the morning hours on Saturday, it has Invest 92 crossing over the Lesser Antilles as a tropical wave and moving away to the south of Puerto Rico and the Dominican Republic, and it keeps Invest 94 relatively weak, and it is not until next Tuesday that it perhaps develops a tropical depression to the east-northeast of the Lesser Antilles, and the European model has also been persistent in keeping Invest 94 weak. Now let's look at the projection from the American model. It also has Invest 92 reaching the Lesser Antilles during the morning on Saturday, and it does develop Invest 94 into a tropical depression or tropical storm with a track also close to the northeastern Caribbean, but significantly weakening the system in about 7 days. And the run of the German model that just came out also has Invest 92 reaching the Lesser Antilles as a strong tropical wave during the hours on Saturday and Invest 94 remaining fairly weak without achieving significant development. So it is evident that neither of the two systems will encounter optimal conditions for development. In particular, it is getting late for Invest 92 to manage to be classified as a tropical cyclone, and it remains to be seen whether Invest 94 encounters more favorable conditions to perhaps become a tropical depression or tropical storm. And if we look at the ensemble members of the American model, all of them keep Invest 92 as a tropical wave as it reaches the Caribbean, and between 30 and 40% of them develop Invest 94 in the long term with a track just northeast of the Caribbean as a weak tropical storm. And in the case of the European model members, some of them develop a tropical depression or tropical storm from Invest 92, but eventually dissipate it as it moves south of Puerto Rico and the Dominican Republic, while between 30 and 40% of the members develop Invest 94, but generally also passing northeast of the Caribbean as a weak tropical storm. And among the members of Google's DeepMind model, none of them develop Invest 92. And although very few, some do develop Invest 94, but also passing just northeast of the Caribbean as a tropical depression or weak tropical storm. So in summary, there have not been many changes today. It is very likely that Invest 92 will continue losing its chances of development if it does not manage to develop areas of convection, while it remains to be seen whether or not Invest 94 will eventually become a tropical cyclone. In the case of Invest 92, it will reach the Lesser Antilles during the hours on Saturday, bringing an increase in rainfall to portions of the central and southern Lesser Antilles, and apparently it will bring little rainfall to Puerto Rico and the Dominican Republic. Then, in the long term, we will see how close or far Invest 94 could pass and perhaps bring some rainfall to the northeastern Caribbean region. Well, that's all for the forecast update, here on Hurricane Info. I will continue monitoring closely to keep you informed, and remember that during this special coverage I will record at least 2 videos a day, one in the morning and one in the afternoon. So I recommend that you share this content with friends and family, and if you want to stay informed, I invite you to like this video. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and click the bell so that you receive notifications when I record new videos. I hope everyone has an excellent afternoon and evening. I will see you tomorrow morning. See you then.